Okay, I'm standing in front of the Apple Store. Since I got my iPad online, the iPad needed to come here to check in. So we checked in at the Apple Store. Now, right before checking in at the Apple Store, on the whrrl system, we went over and we checked in at Dunkin' Donuts. So I went from the Dunkin' Donuts to here. I checked in at the Apple Store. Now, this shows some interesting social networking features, because it comes up every time you do a check-in. It comes up and says, "Did you know?" and it gives you some kind of a tidbit. Well, in this particular case, it said, "Did you know people go to the Dunkin' Donuts before they go here?" We just checked in at the Dunkin' Donuts. We were the first people to check in at the Dunkin' Donuts, and we're now, I think, the first people to check in at the Apple Store. So it's showing a trend. It's a trend of one person, but it is showing a trend.
And it's showing a trend that's not based on any science whatsoever.
Well, it's simply that it's...
No. But there's no sugar to technology science.
No, in this particular case, no. Somebody who eats a donut is not going to then come to the Apple Store.
So it's not like even like Amazon, where if you buy this album, you might also like this movie because it has something in common.
Well, I don't know. Perhaps
at some point it will, maybe.
Perhaps at some point it will say that, "Did you know people who check in at the Apple Store also go to Macy's or also go to the Gap?" So there may be some science to it eventually, but they've got to collect enough of data for the users in order to get that science. But this shows that's happening. So there is a possibility that in your neighborhood, eventually it could track that people who visited the jewelry store also visited the Macy's, or also visited the Aldo shoes, trying to think of some high-ticket items. So there could be those trends, and that's going to show a social nature. And since we all like to do what everybody else is doing, because we're all at heart sheep, we would like to see, okay, are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? What are other people doing? That's the whole social aspect, and they built that into the whrrl system. So we're now standing in front of the Gap store, and I did a search in Foursquare for Gap, and now it shows all of these Gap locations that have specials. So let me take a look at this one, Gap Willowbrook Mall, and I'm going to check in at this one. Okay, we've got you at the Gap Willowbrook Mall. This is your first check-in here. I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to look at my special. Exclusively for Foursquare users. Okay, it has changed. Okay, before when we first looked at this, it was solid gray. Now that I've checked in, it has turned into a color, and on the bottom it says, "Congrats, you've unlocked this special." So if I want to, I can go in there and get 25% off of men's clothes, and I would show this to the cashier and
type that in
and enter the code. And you know what? Let's go in and find out if anybody has done this. All right, doing a little research mission, we're inside the Gap. We went to talk to one of the cashiers and asked them if they were familiar with this. It took him a while. He read through it, and then when he finally got down to the code, he says, "Oh yes, we've had people bring in their cell phones that have had this code on it." He even mentioned it's happened a couple of times today. He also mentioned a printout, which makes me believe that people are also getting this Magic 25 code from.
And they're not special from medium to medium.
They're not special from medium to medium, which is kind of silly, because on a large corporation you would think that they would want better tracking between their advertising, what would show up on Foursquare versus what they might have.
They may not want to have to think about it since this is still so new.
Perhaps. But certainly.
Or maybe they put it in the code and they ask them where they're finding it from. Maybe they find out at checkout point.
Yes, well, especially if the person is showing the phone.
Right.
I think we were the first person to come in
with an
iPad.
He didn't understand what we were doing at first.
He didn't understand when I handed it to him, but when he read through it, he recognized it as something that people have been bringing in and showing on their cell phones. So I'm using whrrl, and just a point of note that it did not stop me from checking in at 3 places, one right after the other, in such a tight time frame that it really would have been physically impossible for me to walk into each store. So I checked into the Banana Republic, I checked into the Macy's right after checking into Lippman Jewelers, which is down the hall, and right after checking into the Gap. So it didn't block me from checking in at those 4 places real fast. I'm going to try the same thing in the other systems, and we will report back. Alright, so we're standing in the center area doing the check-ins between Banana Republic, Loft, Macy's, Gap to see what kind of response the system is going to show. And I was standing not more than 100 feet away from the Macy's, but the iPad recognized that I was 518 meters away, so it didn't get me geolocated properly, and it gave me a green button for virtual visit. So when I clicked on the virtual visit, it says, "Thanks for visiting Macy's Willowbrook." By the way, the Macy's is misspelled. "Come in next time and check in." All the systems allowed me to check in one right after the other without physically walking in. And if they're paying attention to the amount of time it takes to check in, it should know that I'm not running between place to place. But each time I check in, I get more points, and the points seem to be building and adding me mayorships and king of different locations. Alright, so I just checked in at the Disney store, and I'm about to check in the dehood system. But this time, when I started it, it recognizes how many places I've already checked into. So it has a new pop-up that says, "Congratulations, you have discovered a new scratchy. Would you like to scratch it now?" Say yes. So I have discovered something. Let's find out what it is. I'm a virtual visitor in the first degree.
Some prize.
Some prize.
More of a rubby.
More of a rubby, not a scratchy. Did we do gowalla for Disney? Disney Store, Willowbrook Mall. Disney Store, Willowbrook Mall is a robot. 6 people have checked in here.
Robot is a toy.
Oh, okay. For the toy, alright. I earned a new pin. I'm a sightseer.
You're just getting more and more accolades.
Because I went to 10 different spots. Way to go. Alright. Did we do whrrl for Disney?
Why doesn't it ever just guess where you are?
I think if I gave it time, it would.
First one.
I'm the first person to check in here. I'm now in a Disney Store Society and the Mini Me Society. Okay, so we're in the FYE in the mall, and I checked in using whrrl. And when I checked in using whrrl, and I posted a recommendation, it came in and said that anyone who was within the vicinity who had whrrl activated on their phone would get the recommendation I just posted. Now I'm in Foursquare, and I'm also checking in at the FYE, and it gave me a notice that there were tweets from FYE guys. So FYE has their Twitter account attached to their Foursquare account, so I can see details and any specials they may have posted. So in that respect, if you are posting specials on your Twitter account and you have them attached to your Foursquare account, you can see them because they come in right here. So that they come in on Foursquare. So I'm going to check in on this one. Recommends your interesting.
You had a recommendation. Somebody else forwarded your recommendation.
Yes. That's really interesting. So I'm in Foursquare, but this is a push notification from whrrl that says that somebody else forwarded my whrrl recommendation, and I guess it's going to load up and show me.
There's somebody else in this mall.
All right, so I want to finish my check-in on Foursquare for FYE. So go back to Willowbrook Mall. Details, tweets. I haven't seen any of these view tweets nearby yet. I can only assume that people who are using the mobile Twitter account will also attach in here. Actually, I am going to put it in here. Okay. Alright, let's go back to whrrl and post one more thing that we're getting. How many discs?
3.
We're getting 3 discs. FYE. Yep, somebody else recommended the recommendation.
And somebody else said they did it.
Somebody else. She gave me a thumbs up on it. I didn't see her in here. Okay. Alright, so we're going to check out, and the mall's just about to close too.